So let's start working with identifying each of these four mechanisms. And remember, we're all bozos on the bus. No one's meant to know how to do this yet. And even then, when you're working with someone, the first thing you want to understand is that they're coming into the room going, there's something wrong with me, and it's very not easy being in that situation. So the more that you can exude, hopefully, some level of what is true for you inside, which is we're all just bozos on the bus, and that we all have these mechanisms, and none of us are perfect, and it's just a matter of helping each other get a little bit further up the hill, the better. So we're going to start off with examples, and if you've got examples of child mechanism, that's great, of inner criticism, but really you can start with anything.
So inner criticism,
Yeah.
I've got, did you just want one or all of them?
Well, let's start with one.
I'm not good enough.
Okay. That's inner criticism. When did you experience that? Because we kind of want to get this one moment in time, because I'm not good enough, I would imagine, has not happened just once in your life.
So would you like an example?
Yeah, and I'm just going to show the people what we're going to use for that. Which is a blank, so that you can start off with your present moment disturbance, and what you're doing is who, what, when, where. So give us your who, what, when, where.
So what is, when I was doing work yesterday on my pottery wheel, I was failing over and over and over from 10 o'clock to 3.
Yeah, but can you hear? That's not one moment in time. So now all you want to do is go from the big end of the funnel, 10 till 3, lots of I'm not good enough, down to one of them. Now in terms of how easy is this, pick a finger. If I get you to pick a finger, it's really easy. Now it's exactly the same with pick a moment in time between 10 and 3. However, you are likely to notice dissociative mechanisms where a part of you goes, oh, I've got to pick the right one, or you can't even think of one. And these will all be on the way signals, not in the way signals. So just pick one.
So
10:01.
I
Yes.
failed in making a pot.
Which is external. So these two realities. Failing at making the pot is an external reality, yeah?
Yep.
It's physical, you can see it, video camera can see it. Hearing, I'm no good, not external, internal, not molecular. Hugely consequential in terms of your well-being. So this one moment in time relative to the cards is using the body. What is the body doing at the moment of disturbance? That helps you go from the big end of the funnel to the little, because there's that one moment, it's 10:01. Interestingly enough, the body is just doing pottery like any other moment. And then there's something going on inside. And it's an internal disturbance. And the internal disturbance we know is, I'm no good. And you want to kind of, because often how it's heard inside is, oh, you idiot. And it's I, thou. It's one part criticizing another part. For example, the part of you that goes, oh, you screwed up. How could you be so ... If you, interestingly enough, from an associated point of view, as an adult, go, well, where was that part when the screwing up was happening? Wide-mouthed frog. Oh, you don't see many of those around here. wasn't there, comes in after the fact and says, oh, you shouldn't have done that and don't do it again, which tells you it's parent training. And yeah, good example of inner criticism. Very good. And later on, after lunch, we'll go into the whole training business. Another example?
I've got an addiction.
That'll do. Let's jump to fourth mechanism.
So I'll be working really hard on the computer.
Yes.
And I really need to take a break.
Yes.
And I don't take a break. I take like a mental break.
Pause.
Right.
Because that's the moment you want to hold.
Uh-huh.
Because you're going to tell more of the story, but that's actually the nanosecond. That moment where you notice both. One part of you's wanting to go and have a pee or a lunch or whatever it is. So let's go from the big end of the funnel to, because of course that hasn't happened only once, to from the millions of times to which one?
Okay, so like even yesterday, I can be working on the computer.
Yes. And that's the usefulness of the when.
Like say 11 a.m.
11 a.m. I love it.
Working on the computer.
What's the body doing?
Break.
Working on the computer.
Hunched over, I'm tired,
Yeah.
I need to...
Yeah, but the body's hunched over trying to finish the work.
Yes.
And there's a part of you going, I need to have a pee, I need to go for a break, I need to stop doing this for a while. So can you hear the I, thou, the two parts? And, what's that?
Can I get
Well, you're already there. That's why I'm saying pause, because while there's all sorts of other ones that might be coming along, let's just do them one at a time. And this is also useful to understand the sense of always work with first cab off the rank, because there's a kind of a primacy to what comes out first. But you can see that you need to slow things down. The way that healing in a conflict works is to slow things down so that you're only ever doing one thing at a time. Usually when a client comes in, they come and they tell you everything and there's a million things to do and you're trying to follow all of them and you're literally running after God knows how many rabbits and catching none. What we're doing is getting one, catching one rabbit and actually getting runs on the board with that one rabbit. Then you go to the second rabbit and the third rabbit, having dealt with it each time. So can you see that one part would want to express itself uniquely in the moment by going and having a pee, going and having lunch, going and lying down or having whatever it is that part wanted to do. But what you notice is that there's another part going, you can't do that, you've got to finish.
Well, no, it doesn't do that.
No,
It goes,
what is it?
It says, no, have a break and go to these really very bad news sites.
Ah.
So I'm staying on the computer, I'm making myself way more tired, and it's almost like eating cardboard on McDonald's, knowing that you get nothing, like nothing edifying.
Yes.
No break.
Yes.
But I'm addicted.
Yes. Now, this is where you have to slow it down because there's two things going on. One of them is a long time earlier was a desire to stop doing whatever you're doing. That then got overridden. No, we've got to finish this. Then another part goes, screw this. I can watch YouTube. Can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man. I'm not putting out the trash. I'm just going to stay in my room and watch YouTube. But you need to work with both of those separately because one of them, and this is why it's important to...
It's an adolescent.
Exactly.
It's the adolescent.
It's
It goes, no, just go to this crappy website here.
Well, can you see that it's all of the above? It starts off with the moment where you want to go, yeah, I've had enough of this, I want to go and do something else. But there's a part that goes, internal criticism, no, you can't, you've got to finish this based on whatever training that says we've got a job to do and a deadline and blah, blah, blah. So that gets overridden. and probably for a long time. So that eventually the adolescent goes, well, screw this. I don't have to do this. And because it can't deal with that internally, usually when no one's looking, you've got screen changer, if someone comes in, no, I'm very busy here. But the part's going, no, it's all right, we can just have a little lolly. We can just have a little yum yum yum, called a bit of, eye candy on YouTube. Because what's underneath, you've got to finish this, is the sadness of, I don't want to finish this. But we can't have that. We can't have, because the feeling of not getting the result, not getting what you're meant to finish, would mean being criticized as not good enough, which would mean sadness. Now, of course, you've cried, you haven't died. You could just be sad about whatever people think of you if you're not as fabulous as they want you to, but there are child parts going, no, that feels overwhelming for us. So it's like, oh, keep going, until eventually a part goes, no, let's just watch this. And what's happening is, of course, a part sneaks out, takes over the body, makes it do the adolescent thing. What makes it the addiction is the part of you that goes, adult, don't do that. So, of course, that part goes, oh, we shouldn't do it, but oh, it feels good. And can you see you've got 3 layers there? The inner criticism, you should finish. Eventually, the acting out, that of course becomes an addiction, because there's a part going, oh, we probably shouldn't do this, but screw it, we're doing it anyway. And can you see those are the 3? And each of them has their nanosecond, don't they? And can you see why you can't work with them as one? You have to work with them in each of the nanoseconds, which is why you'd want 3 bits of paper. 1 for each, because they're really different. Such a great example. Other examples?
I have another one.
Yes.
I just remembered. So last night I was at a party. So it was at the Fiddler at 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I had to watch a video of myself entertain me, and I sang on it. So I pack shit. Like, I sound like a dickhead. I thought I was going to sound like a dickhead in a room full of people. So I was freaking out.
Now, can you hear that I is not a nuanced or distinguishing enough description, because there are different parts doing different things. One part's going, I need to look okay in this group of people. One part's going, I'm going to look terrible. One part's just singing. Can you hear? They're all different parts. This is left hand, right hand. And we need to begin to get different language that allows us to have a left hand and a right hand, not just a me, an I, a myself. Because we have to get under the bonnet and go, oh, okay, so there's this part, that part, the other part. There's reptilian brain, anger, fear. There's neocortex, new brain, expression, well-being. There's these mechanisms, and they're all just trying to protect us. So let's go to that moment. At a certain point, like you go to this thing, and everything's just dum-de-doo, and you're fine, not triggered. Then they say, oh, let's play the movie. And it's like,
As soon as the lights went out.
Yeah, okay. Now, interestingly enough, if you look at the body, nothing's happening. The body is just in dissociated adult, nothing to see here, move along. But behind the scenes, behind the line of dissociation, it's big disturbance. And what we know is going on is a criticism. a part of you trained by that in early childhood probably, that's going, oh my God, your form of expression, too much lipstick on the wall, too loud, too something, not enough. Going, we need to protect you from criticism. And of course, that's what's being feared, is criticism from these people who are going to go, you're a dickhead. Now, have you been called a dickhead before? Yes. Have you cried before? Yes. These are not things you're going to die from. But because in the moment you're dissociated, there isn't just this ability to go, well, that would be really sad if someone called me a dickhead. And I could cry with that. I don't need to rearrange everybody in the universe in terms of their opinion of me. And that's the stuff that we'll work on in the second module, is how to intervene with that. Because can you see, it's a protective mechanism, but it's the equivalent of, I'm going to criticize you internally in order to protect you from criticism externally, which is the equivalent of me offering you this fabulous deal called, I'm going to slap your face as a way to get you to be protected from having your face slapped. Not a fabulous idea. And you can tell that it's child mechanism because that's all it's got. And only because when you're an infant, when you're a child, you can't get out of harm's way. So you have to suck it up. And so you have to have this internal override, which is why it's popping up and disturbing you here to say, could we get some help with this now? Have things changed? Are we still dependent? And that's what we're going to get you to bring, is adult, associated, aware of all what's going on, how it got there in the first place, noticing that it's insensitive, and bringing intervention. So now would be a good time to look at what is the intervention, because that's what we're going to do in the second module. The intervention is pretty much the adult aware that there's been training, that it wasn't ideal, it was essential at the time in the dependent stage of childhood, but it's not actually going on now. You're not dependent on these people's opinions for you to keep living. So you're able to bring what I would call an updating of the operating system, which we do God knows how many times with our phones. We have to update these operating systems haven't been updated once. So it's the equivalent of trying to get around Sydney with a UBD or a Gregory's or a street directory from whatever decade you were born in, which is not going to be that useful, which is why these mechanisms aren't that useful, which is why they have to come up and disturb us, not as something going wrong, as something trying to go right. So we're just going to look at what is this intervention going to look like. It's going to look like the adult coming to talk to each of these parts, one part that was trained by the parent doing the shouting. So it's, let's call it a 5-year-old with a scary mum-dad mask. This part is going to be a 5-year-old that's scared of mum and dad, and then eventually scared of the mum and dad part that's internalized that behaviour. And then this is going to be a part that's a 5-year-old that's sad because it doesn't get to express itself the way it wants to. And what you're going to bring is an adult that understands both contexts, which is thank you to the fight, anger, criticism, intimidation part. Thank you for having internalized some wildly insensitive methods that was essential at the time to override expression into paralysis and pop out compliance, which gets us into the next moment of evolution. Thank you for doing that. That was essential. There wasn't a 62-year-old or however old at the time, adult. But then to update it and go, well, but that's not necessary anymore, because what are the two things I can do? I can get myself out of harm's way, and we'll talk more about how to do stop or I'm leaving. how to set limits around your own personal space, set and enforce them. And I can grieve someone's opinion of me. I can be sad about that, as opposed to turning myself into a pretzel in order to try to avoid it. Having my well-being go down the toilet as a way to try to protect myself from getting criticised. The sense of overwhelm, as opposed to just going directly to go and going, I could just be sad about that. Because as an adult, you know that the sadness is not linked to a sense of overwhelm, to a sense of, well, what if they don't feed me tomorrow? Because you're not dependent on anyone. Then secondly, you're going to work with the 5-year-old that's frightened of mum and dad, frightened of the internalised mum and dad part that's still doing it, that's followed us today, that's showing us this disturbance. And you're going to go, thank you for having been paralysed. Because it was a good idea not to keep doing that stuff. But that's not necessary anymore for exactly the same reasons. Once you get some neutrality from these parts, once they go, yeah, okay, I got that. Then they're not having to do the protecting anymore. So you've dealt with protection survival that overrides expression well-being. Of course, as an adult, you can do both. Why? Because you know that this is not a protection survival issue. You know you're not going to die from that. So then you have to, these parts do protection survival at the cost of expression well-being. You can walk and chew gum. So you have to show them that you can deal with the well-being and the expression in a way that they never could. So here, you're going to bring 3 things. Your feelings are really important. The opposite of what they're getting from the parent on a bad day. I mean, you have to be specific. You can express whatever level of sadness, whatever level of anger using my adult body, because they weren't able to. It was a bad idea when they were a kid. So that means not just crying, but having permission and encouragement for the sadness internally. People often come in saying, I haven't cried for 20 years, or I have been crying for 20 years. It's irrelevant. The issue is, has there been permission and encouragement for it? In other words, is there a part inside doing the consoling that's required? That's what we'll be teaching how to do. The other thing is how to express anger, because usually when the child's experience is that when someone gets angry, someone gets hurt. In 2021, we know that you can beat the hell out of the sofa, you can beat the hell out of the punching bag, so you can actually express anger in a way that doesn't hurt yourself or others or property. And that has to be shown, updating of the operating system, so that that's an experience. And important to kind of understand that these are so natural, that the internal realm matches the physical realm, because my experience is that sadness and anger are the pissing and shitting, a little bit gross, but it's just how it is, of the internal realm. If you don't do them, bits will fall off. But you have to understand that we live in a culture that's incredibly emotionally constipated, which is why you see people trying not to cry at funerals, big boys don't cry, and don't get angry. I mean, including Nike No Fear. So these are all, don't go anywhere near the feelings, and what we're going to show is that actually you need a healthy relationship to the expression of all the feelings, particularly sadness and anger. The reason not so much with fear is because the expression of fear is paralysis, which is non-expression. So you get a freebie there. So here, what you're bringing is your feelings are really important. You can express any sadness or anger through my body. Secondly, I love you, whether you're putting lipstick on the wall or not, whether you're making too much noise, whether you sing well or not, whether the thing gets finished or not. And thirdly, if someone's going to criticize us now for the lipstick, for the noise, for the lack of singing quality, or for the job not being finished, then you can, I'll get you out of harm's way. I can get you out of harm's way. And we can cry about them thinking that we're not good at this, we're not finishing this, we're making too much noise. We can be sad about that. Then you check in with these parts to see what their response is to you being able to bring what they've never been able to bring. And then you'll notice that there's a distinct change in how you feel. And that's what we'll be fleshing out in Module 2.